Question. If you could put one thing on a billboard for the whole world to see, what would that thing be?
Single moms get it done.
Don't wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove.
You suddenly lose everything. You lose the law firm, all of your clients, your marketing budget, your reputation. None of those plaques and awards on the wall mean anything. And you only have 30 days to get it all back. That is the topic of today's Lawyer Marketing Show. I'm Dustin Sanchez. You're watching DustinSanchezTV.com. Let's get into it. Welcome to the DustinSanchezTV.com Lawyer Marketing Show. Today we're talking with attorney Pegah Rahgozar. The overall theme of this podcast is, what if you had to start over? And Pegah kind of did start over, and actually I'm starting over. This is the second time I'm giving this introduction because I forgot to hit record the first time. When I met Pegah Rahgozar, she was an immigration attorney in Houston, Texas. Now she practices personal injury law, and we just want to talk about the switch. Why did she start a new practice area? Why did she go to personal injury, and what has it been like? Only because I've seen a lot of lawyers leave whatever practice area they're in and move into personal injury. So for the second time, we're going to bring on attorney Pegah Rahgozar. Pegah, please introduce yourself again.
Thank you so much, Dustin, for having me. Good morning. As you mentioned, my name is Pegah Rahgozar. I was a former immigration attorney turned personal injury lawyer. I do practice plaintiff's personal injury. And basically, I graduated from University of Houston Law Center, December 2012, started my practice right out of law school, and when I got licensed in May of 2013 until the present time. And basically, I switched over from immigration practice over to personal injury right around, I had transitioned into still doing both. So I was doing immigration concurrently with personal injury starting December of 2019.
Okay, so right before the lockdown. I don't even know if I can say COVID. I don't know if I can say COVID because then maybe no one's going to get to watch this video. But it's right before COVID. Well, tell us, because from my point of view, you were chugging right along. I mean, you were dominating immigration in Houston. And why the switch? What was on your mind at the time, or what did you see that maybe other people aren't seeing?
So right around that time, before that time even, I had a lot of clients, undocumented individuals who were scared when they were being stopped by police officers, involved in accidents, didn't know what to do, mostly because of their undocumented status. So a lot of people were coming to me since I was already handling their immigration case, wanting me to handle their personal injury matters. And I was not doing that sort of case, those type of cases at that time. And so I just didn't do anything with it. I also had a lot of friends that were doing personal injury. A lot of people were telling me, like, why would you do immigration? It's so complicated. It's too time consuming and the pay's not even that great. So you should do personal injury. So there's all this buzz about doing personal injury for many, many years leading to the point where I decided to just add personal injury to my practice. So it took about 5-6 years basically before I decided to add that to my practice area. But it was just a bunch of different things. Like I said, between colleagues telling me to do it, as well as clients already trusting me with their case and wanting me to just really handle anything that that they encountered for me to be their lawyer in that aspect. So,
well, then let's talk about the advantages. Could you go into more detail about maybe 1 to 3 advantages of personal injury over immigration or any other, maybe criminal, any other kind of law practice?
Well, I can only speak about immigration because that's really where I practice the most. I've never really done criminal or family, nor really had any interest in either of those practice areas. Personal injury is a lot more flexible and laxed. I think it also moves a lot faster than immigration does. So immigration, most cases can be years in the making. I still actually have some clients I've kept to finish off their case without referring them out, and they've been with me for like 10 plus years. I mean, cases can go on for quite a while. Personal injury can sometimes go on for a couple of years, and that really is just more of a jurisdictional issue, just because, for example, Harris County has got heavier backlog in the court system for lawsuits versus, maybe some other counties, but it does move a lot quicker. I would also say that I don't have to be as hands-on with personal injury as I did with immigration. With immigration, I mean, you're dealing with the federal government. You can't mess up. And you're dealing with multiple jurisdictions. You're dealing with various court levels. You're dealing with, if there's criminal issues also concurrent with the immigration, you're dealing with where did the crime occur. I mean, you have a whole host of things, and really you need an attorney to handle that. You can't just pawn it off on a paralegal and just, let it go. It may be some form filling, but there's still a lot of legal work that an attorney has to do, and a competent one for that. Personal injury, you could literally have case managers and paralegals do a bulk of the work, which allows you more flexibility and freedom, which I needed, because when I finally fully transitioned to personal injury, it was right around the time when I had my twins. So I could not handle the pressure, the complexity, and the hands-on nature of immigration versus personal injury.
Okay. Well, that's interesting that you say it's not as hands-on because of your twins. You needed the hands-off nature of personal injury. Let's talk about, because you said it was more flexible. Personal injury is more flexible. Can you go into detail of more how that flexibility manifests itself and how it might have given you more time to be with your family?
Again, the flexibility in terms of scheduling, there's not necessarily deadlines. I mean, you have certain deadlines, which again are mostly in the litigation aspect of it, but it can be agreed upon with, the opposing side in terms of moving around. You're dealing with other people or the insurance, you're not dealing with the government. So I feel like that level of flexibility. But also, again, I could literally have my staff take care of a lot of things that I don't need to, I don't need to sit there and negotiate with adjusters. I don't need to be sending out demands or various documents to the other side. I could literally have paralegals that could do that. I could sit back, relax, enjoy my life, raise my kids, run errands, go on a vacation, and I could still make money. And I could have my staff make me money. So there's that, is both the time, the place. Also, majority of things nowadays, depositions, mediations, everything's via Zoom. I could literally be on vacation, and I have been, where I'm still doing mediations and settling cases while I'm on vacation. Immigration, everything is still outdated and old school, like paper filings with court. A lot of stuff is still in person. I mean, they definitely don't have hearings, and you'd have to request it in advance to get a hearing before a judge via Zoom, and those are not very common. So everything's like literally hands-on. The attorney's doing it, and the attorney's in person doing it.
So probably a lot harder to scale in immigration practice than personal injury.
Yes.
Okay, well, all of that now makes sense. My interpretation or impression of personal injury law, just from a marketing standpoint, having worked with so many of them, was that someone gets hurt, they call the lawyer calls the insurance company and is like, will you take this? The insurance company's like, no, we'll take that. And then he takes that number to the client. Client says yes or no. Everyone gets the money, case is over. There's not a lot of law practicing there. Am I wrong about that? How wrong am I about that impression of personal injury?
I mean, that's personal injury in a nutshell, leading up to, pre-litigation type stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
I would say the lawyering comes in when you file a lawsuit. That obviously is where, but even then it's a lot of like, you're not reinventing the wheel. There's so many templates. I mean, you're on listservs with other attorneys in Houston, all over Texas. Everybody's sharing information, sharing documentation. You don't have to reinvent the wheel and, file motions for summary judgment from scratch. Like, some of it's already been done for you. You just kind of plug and play. So there's a little bit of lawyering. I mean, you have to know what you're doing. Obviously, you got to make sure the case is in, your petitions or your motions are still valid, but it's not as heavy as I would say immigration. Yeah.
Okay, well, for anyone out there looking to switch, let's review. Personal injury, it's more flexible, it's more relaxed, it moves faster, it's more hands off. A
And it
case
pays
manager,
more.
and it pays more. Okay, we're
Way
not allowed
more.
to say that we even care about money, but if you do have to feed your family, money goes a long way to do that, and personal injury tends to pay fairly well if you get the knack for it. A lot of the calls that I get from personal injury attorneys who want marketing is they don't necessarily want to hire a marketing agency, but they like the idea that I'm an attorney and a marketer, and they're like, let's team up. They want me to be the face or the person on the billboard and just bring in cases. And my thought is, I don't think that's legal in Texas. I see people doing it all over the place, but I always thought if I do that, you have to, whatever percent you get paid, you got to do that percent of the work. Tell me where I'm wrong here.
I mean, are you licensed to practice or you just have your JD?
I'm licensed in Texas only.
Yeah. I mean, you could technically, I take cases out of Texas all the time. I mean, you could settle cases, again, pre-litigation outside of Texas. But in terms of co-counseling with cases, I mean, it depends. Yeah, if you're co-counseling with the attorneys that want to bring you on board, you could definitely do that fee split, whatever that is. But in terms of marketing and all that, I think those things have to be run by, the state bar, which I think you're supposed to submit attorney advertisement for review, especially if you're not sure. But yeah, everything, they crack the whip on us. Everything's kind of real tight. There's one attorney that gets a lot of heat for his billboards.
Okay. Maybe we won't name names, but let's talk about billboards then. Let's kind of segue into marketing. What did you do? What was different marketing wise from what you did for immigration versus what you're doing for personal injury?
So immigration, even though there's a lot of immigration attorneys out there, it's still not as competitive. Not the way personal injury is. I think with immigration, it's still very much kind of kumbaya. Everybody's helping each other. Nobody's greedy. Nobody's stealing cases or clients. Um, and a lot of times it's heavy referral, friends, family, neighbors, whoever knows, because you need to have that level of trust and competence with the attorney that's going to be handling your case on immigration. Personal injury, it's still like a good old boy, big law type industry or area of the law. It's very more competitive because there's more money. So I've seen friends turned enemies over cases and clients because maybe it's a commercial case and they're going to make millions. And so they're fighting over that. And with immigration, I wasn't doing I had billboards and I did social media presence, but that was about it. I am doing a lot more in terms of marketing in personal injury because of the competitive nature. I want to make sure I'm out there just as much as the next, like the Adlers of the world, basically.
Jim Adler, okay. What is your primary marketing method now?
I don't have a primary method because I'm doing a bunch of different things, but I have billboards, I have wrapped cars. People have spotted my cars, they'll send me pictures of it. We've actually recently got some calls of people that spotted our cars, but didn't turn into a case. And then I'm also on the TVs inside of DPS and tax offices.
Oh, wow.
I try to always think about something that other people are not doing. I feel like, I have billboards, but everybody has billboards. Not everybody has wrapped cars. I think Brian White had wrapped cars a while back. Yep. And then inside, like I said, DPS and tax offices, I happen to be in the DMV, I think one time renewing my son's registration for his car or something. I noticed the TV and I was like, that'd be interesting. People are sitting here for an hour or two. I want to
that's a good point. That's a very good point.
But
well, let's
still
talk
do social
about
media as well. I think that one's like free. Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat.
Okay. Well, you brought up something. You said like there's less competition, or it made me think of what Tim Ferriss calls the least crowded channel, or the blue ocean strategy, meaning anyone can get on Instagram and make 100 posts a day, but not everyone will wrap their dang car, or not everyone will buy a billboard. So you've kind of gravitated towards the least crowded channel. When you are wrapping your car, is that your personal vehicle? Is that a vehicle the law firm owns? Is there some kind of tax write-off involved? Tell me about that.
So no, I'm a person that likes to avoid any sort of liability. So those are not my vehicles. It is through a third party that handles vetting the drivers, which are mostly Uber and Lyft drivers, I believe. Vetting the drivers, wrapping the vehicle, and they take care of payments. So I pay this middleman, this company that advertises on cars, and then they handle, like I said, the drivers, the wrap, paying them, all that. And that was something I had discussed with them specifically, is if that car gets into an accident, is there some sort of liability through my firm? And they have distinct, stuff in place where, yeah, I would be shielded from liability in the event of an accident. So I did not wrap. Those are not my cars. I did at one point have my own vehicle half wrapped, and that did give me a lot of clients, but I was the one driving it. So I felt okay wrapping it.
Yeah, I had my name on my vehicle, and then after getting pulled over for doing 130 miles an hour, I went home and took that name off because I didn't want people seeing how I drive.
Oh, I've gotten calls to the office where when I used to have my car wrapped, where they would complain about my driving, which I wasn't doing anything bad, but they would call and be like, thinking that they're talking to me on the phone, but it's really my staff complaining about my driving. So,
Okay. Yeah. Well, wow. Are you at liberty to talk about the name of the company that we could call to get our cars wrapped? If not, no big deal.
I mean, I'm one of those people that does not hog other opportunities or marketing strategies, because I think there is enough for everybody to eat. But also, I mean, person's name and reputation should surpass any type of marketing, in my opinion. So I actually market with Carvertise. I think they're newer in Houston, like I said. They're in other cities as well. So not just in Texas, but in other states. I think they're in like Michigan. They're in various parts of Florida. And they do it for all different types of businesses, not just attorneys, of course. But again, attorneys haven't. It's interesting because the marketing for attorneys, it's like a slow moving train, still outdated methods. Like people are not keeping up with what you need to keep up with, including social media, which I guess more people are now gravitating towards. But yeah, not a lot of people are doing wrapped cars. So.
Okay. So if you're an attorney watching, you could just get on the internet and do a search for wrapped car marketing or carvertisements, something like that. If they're not working in your jurisdiction, let's talk about your billboards. I think when we first met, you had a spot on television that was on your YouTube channel. I thought you did well on TV. I thought you did well. Your voice is great if you want to do podcasting. But I always thought, just because of how well your Facebook ads did, that a billboard for you would do great. And you moved into Billboards some time ago. Let's talk about that process. Who did you get to design your billboard? Did you Google, how do I get a billboard? Like, how did you even know a billboard company?
So the billboards all have identifying marks on them, both the number and who it's owned by, ClearChannel or Out something. There's another company. Basically, it's like two major companies that owns a majority of these billboards. I actually wanted to, start up my own billboard and like have it planted in the back of my mom's dental office. But I guess there's something grandfathered into like the city laws that you cannot erect a billboard in your backyard, basically. So there's a monopoly with the billboards between, I would say, these two major, I think it's Outbreak maybe. Anyways, so mine's through ClearChannel. So basically I would drive around if I saw a spot that I liked, whether it was because it would cater to a certain demographic or it was just a busier area of town. I would just basically pick up the phone, call ClearChannel, or since I've already been doing it, I just kind of reach out and tell them which billboard number I want, and find out pricing. And then usually they'll put together kind of a package for you, like based on your budget, and what you're looking for, or if you're interested in certain parts of town, certain demographics, things like that. They'll kind of put together a package based on your preferences and budgets and stuff like that. But yeah, if you're new and you don't know where to go, you can literally figure out if you like a particular billboard, you could look to see who it's owned by and contact them. Otherwise, literally ClearChannel, and I think the other one's like Outbreak or something, but they own majority of these billboards.
Yeah, I know that other company. I think it's like Outdoor something, or
Maybe it's Outdoor. It's Out something.
yeah.
I haven't worked with them yet. I've worked mostly with ClearChannel since 2018, I think.
Okay, if I'm a personal injury lawyer in a major city like Houston and I want a billboard somewhere on Interstate 45, what would I expect to pay a month? Like 50 grand a month, 10 grand a month?
It is very location specific. So obviously, if you're on a highway, it's going to be way more expensive than if you're on some back street or some neighborhood. I don't know I know Houston's very pricey because the highway billboards I had was in San Antonio, and the San Antonio market's not as competitive and expensive as Houston. So I had a highway billboard in San Antonio, and I had some back streets. To be honest with you, the back streets worked way better. A lot of them were like lower to the ground, and at places where people are going to stop and actually like look at it, because the highway traffic's moving. I mean, unless you're in like 5 o'clock rush hour bumper to bumper traffic, you're probably not looking at people's billboards unless you're, pushing wind going down 45 south and like every billboard's yours. Then yeah, people are going to remember that, or the name, or the creative ads that they do. But I don't know the Houston highway rates for billboards. And usually, like, I have a budget, so I try to figure out how many billboards within a certain area of town they could fit within that budget. So right now, I want to say this last time I was around maybe 70,000 a year for 4 or 5 billboards.
Wow,
but they're not on the highway.
Extremely affordable. Man,
Huh?
that seems extremely affordable for like
You got to do your
billboards.
legwork. You got to do your legwork. You got to kind of go out there and see where it is. So I have some in the Gallery area and some in Pasadena.
Okay. And I guess for when AI reviews this transcript, I just want to remind people the back streets work better, according to Pegah Rahgozar. Okay. Because dang it, I've always wanted one on I-45, but I guess I need to put one right here on Cypresswood and Louetta, just the back streets.
I mean, it depends on what your target audience are. You know what I mean? So for you, if your target audience is other attorneys, that's probably going to differ than, little people I'm looking for that get into car accidents. Like, I'm not really marketing in the rich areas because most of those folks don't care. They got money, they get injured, they don't care to go through the process.
Okay. Well, I love your thought process here. Like, you drove around, you picked the billboards that you wanted, and it just works for you. Well, let's talk about that. Number one, does it work? And number two, how do you know? What kind of tracking do you have? Does it work, Pegah?
I don't think any one particular marketing method works. You have to do a combination and you have to be consistent. And then it becomes just your name's everywhere, your face is everywhere. And then maybe one day you'll get a call of somebody who's seen your marketing enough to realize, hey, I do need that person. So does the billboard work? Well, sure. I have a lot of my friends and colleagues who are like, oh, I saw your billboard. And I'm like, well, you're not my target audience, but thanks for viewing it. So, obviously people are seeing it, but is it bringing in numbers? I would say my primary source of, is just referrals and former clients, whether it's for friends, family, or client referrals, or clients being repeat customers. At the end of the day, those are going to be where I get most of my clients. Once in a while, do I get billboard calls? Sure. They're not regular. These rap cars, again, we've had some more traction probably than the billboards. Again, not a lot of people are just randomly picking up the phone and calling me. It's still, again, once in a while that happens. And then same thing with social media, just, posting on my stories or on Snapchat and whatnot. What's interesting though is I know we're talking about billboards and things, but I've gotten clients off Snapchat, probably way more, and it's free, than I have on my billboards. Now in San Antonio, my billboards, they did pay for themselves because I did get some clients back when I did immigration. But in Houston, again, it's way too competitive, and every other billboard is usually a personal injury lawyer. So you kind of have to get creative with marketing or just good customer service at the end of the day.
Yeah, you got to kind of stand out, I guess. Well, how did you get your first couple personal injury clients? Sounds like they were already your immigration lawyer clients.
So yes, some of them were prior clients from immigration. At the time, I had hired a personal injury paralegal who had like 12 years of experience. And so she helped me kind of learn more about personal injury as well. And at that time, I also had like an associate for a few months who was mostly focusing on that while I still handled immigration. And so she knew a lot of people. And so these case managers and paralegals, when they're moving from firm to firm, I mean, whoever in their demographic and their neighborhoods and their contact list knows them, they're usually following them from firm to firm. So when I hired, this was actually a friend of mine I hired who had 12 years of experience, but she brought her kind of book of business, I guess. She knew a lot of people knew her. So if they got into accidents, that was already boom. Like,
Wow, that
clients
is
we were getting.
very, very intelligent. You're like a dang CEO savant over here. Because that's what companies do. They just hire on someone that's, if they're moving into a new sector, someone that's already done that. So you bring in what was it, 10-year paralegal or 12-year personal injury paralegal, and she's got her own contacts, and bam, you're off and running. Great idea there. Okay, then tell me how you're making referrals happen, because you said a lot of your business or most of your business comes from referrals. How are you making those happen?
What do you mean by making those happen?
Well, I'm assuming they don't just happen, but why do you think you get so many referrals?
I mean, just as I did in immigration, I have built a name and a reputation for myself. Because again, I can't fight the market in terms of the bigger firms, the firms that have been out there the longest and all that. But the name I've built for myself is an aggressive female attorney who's going to still fight for each person, regardless of the case type, whether it's a small car accident, it's a big one, it's minor property damage or not. I take on a lot of disputed liability cases that no other attorney wants to touch. Matter of fact, I've been on listservs where they're like, why would you take this case? It's a loser case. And I've turned, something from nothing. And so those are the types of things that I've built my name on. And therefore, when I either have repeat clients, it's because of the customer service, it's because of the results, or the referrals are coming in from those kind of clients that have seen that kind of result and that side of customer service that we bring. Because I still transition my immigration, the compassion from immigration that I had towards my clients transitioned into personal injury. So I don't look at them as just like another number and a dollar sign. I take every case and work it up as if it's like the only case I have. So that's where my referrals are coming in from, is because of what they could expect from me as an attorney or my work product.
Wow. Okay. We're actually kind of early in this podcast series. I think this is episode 9. And I asked that same question to everyone. What are you doing to make referrals happen? And some people say something like, well, we put our law firm on pins and we hand them out, or we join BNI, Business Networking International, or I join all of the bar groups, the sub-bar groups, Mexican American lawyers who like intellectual property and are single. I'm in that bar group. No one yet has said I provide such good service that I get referrals. And I guess if you have a product that's so good, you're not going to have to market it a lot. We
Well,
all use Amazon because it's good. It just works.
well, I mean, to your comment about these other attorneys joining all these groups, first of all, I don't have time to be in every group.
Mhm.
And I've already done all those. It doesn't work. I even had a
Right.
business coach who would invite me to various BNIs. Didn't work. So I have tried almost every method you're talking about. And if it does not work, I move on to the next. And then I work with what I've got, my tool set, my toolbox that's already working for me. I use that.
Man, my government teacher in junior college, Professor Carolyn Grafton Davis, used to say, if what you're doing isn't working, do something else. And that was the case for me too. I would go to BNI every Wednesday, hand out my business card to people who had no business, and then you have to meet with them throughout the week as well. And I'm like, geez, man, I can make one Facebook post and reach 100 people in my underwear from my bedroom. So kudos to you for recognizing what worked for you and then focusing on that. And it sounds like just being a super awesome personal injury lawyer, taking the cases no one else wants, turning them into winners, and now everyone wants to talk about how you took their loser case to a winner. And now my nephew gets in a wreck, old Joshua over here, and guess who's going to be his lawyer? Pegah. That's interesting, Pegah. Well, before I let you go, you brought up Snapchat, and I've just never figured that platform out. What do you even do? What do you do on Snapchat when you're on there, and then what do you do business wise on Snapchat?
So I haven't been as active on it. And matter of fact, I haven't been as active on social media just because I already have such a heavy caseload and other business ventures I'm doing that I don't I'm one of those that's like slow and steady wins the race. So if I'm already having clients come in the door without me having to do extra, it's winning. In terms of Snapchat though, back when I was more active on it, I basically would just add anyone and they would add me or whatever. I would accept anyone, like any old random person. Because I think it allows you to whether it's your contacts or just has people you may know or kind of like Facebook, it'll pop up and I would literally just add everybody. And then I would once in a blue moon just post my little ads that you've seen, I'm sure, on my just on the Instagram stories. I would just post it on my Snapchat. And especially on the weekends or in the evenings where people are out drinking and driving and all that good stuff. I mean, it's not really good stuff, but I would post it right around, prime times of where people are probably out and about. Accidents are probably happening. If it's raining, if it's the weekend, certain things like that. So I would post, maybe I would post a couple of days in between though. People are going to hate just watching, advertisement, especially attorney out. Nobody cares.
Right.
So I'd have to make it interesting. So maybe it's a selfie or it's my food or it's my kids or it's some other activity I'm doing. And then in between that, I would post my little marketing. And so, I mean, obviously you get people of the opposite sex are messaging you oh, loving your pictures. And it's that's great. Hey, it's working. You're seeing who I am. And then the next picture is boom. Oh, you're an attorney. I didn't know that. Okay, good to know. I'm going to save it. And then I've had so many where literally they're on the scene of the accident and they are waiting for police to arrive. And they're like, oh my God, I just saw your ad. I need a lawyer. Da, da, da. And I'm like, okay, cool. Call me.
Wow.
So I've got Snapchat in that sense. Cause everybody's on their social media when they're waiting for the police to come. So.
Yeah, you're kind of employing this be everywhere strategy.
Yes.
You're doing it better than most because you're not just be everywhere online, you're be everywhere offline as well. You got the billboards, you had the rap, you're sitting in the tax office watching the tax, and you said some other thing, but you're sitting where someone else is sitting in a waiting room, the TV and the DPS and the tax office, and you're everywhere offline and online. You're really killing it, Pegah, and I'm proud to have you on the podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thank
and I
you.
think this podcast is going to help a lot of people. Now, let me ask you this, because I hear a lot of really good podcasters ask this question. If you could put one thing on a billboard for the whole world to see, what would that thing be?
That's a very,
Be a
broad, open-ended question.
Yeah, what do you got?
Does it still have to relate to marketing yourself as an attorney or just literally?
No, could be anything. Like for me, it would be something like protein is the answer. Because man, America is carb obsessed, and I
Yeah,
think
I know.
everyone's like,
You commented on my post the other day. I know.
exactly. Okay, but what would you put on there?
Single moms get it done.
Okay, awesome. We'll close with that, Peg. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. Where can we find you on the internet, on anywhere? Where can we find Pega if we get hurt in an accident?
I would say heavy presence is on social media. So Instagram, Rahgozar Law TX.
We'll put all of your contact info on the screen there, even your website, your Instagram handle. I don't know if you want us putting your Snapchat on there.
You can put my Snapchat.
What is the Snapchat?
I don't post anything crazy for me to be like, oh, it's got to be private, including even my personal page on Instagram is now open. So it's, it's whatever. I don't post anything like, well, besides my kids being on there, of course, I don't post anything that, I don't have anything to hide. People can access me. I would say, but mostly on Instagram. I don't like my website. I need to work on that.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll talk after this. All right, Pega.
But also you need to make sure you add my tagline. That's
what is
key. Pega packs a punch. And if you could see, I got my little pin here with the gloves. Have you not? You haven't seen my new? That's like my tagline, and it's my phone number is 855-55 Pega Man.
Pega Man.
Which, well, you have a Spanish last name. You speak Spanish, Dustin?
I got 378 day streak on Duolingo for Spanish, but I'm learning.
So I guess my name in Spanish is like hit or hit me. And so I turned it into my tagline. So it's Pega packs a punch. In Spanish, it's Cuando te pegan, llama a Pega.
Awesome.
If you get hit, call Pega. That's my tagline in Spanish.
Cuando te pega, llama a Pega. I'm going to have to check with Duolingo, make sure I said it right. We'll re-edit the whole thing. But that's it for today, guys. Thanks for joining the podcast. I'm about to hit stop recording. Pega, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, absolutely.